Hey folks, just want you to know this show is for educational purposes only. This does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship. So tune in. Hello and welcome back to the Injury Podcast. My name is Dr. Craig Selinger, chiropractic physician, and thank you for tuning in. Today we have an awesome episode with two great people I'm privileged to have on the show. We're going to be talking about from injury to comeback, and we have two unique perspectives. We have a orthopedic surgeon who was an elite athlete who has seen the perspective of both being the injured athlete and the surgeon. So that's going to be a unique perspective, and I think that is going to have a lot of value. And he's also into some more newer and natural ways of recovery and healing and different modalities that we're going to talk about in the show today too. And then we have the dash cam attorney, Shannon Sagan. He is an attorney, and he has studied through his YouTube channel and a lot of the information he provides, seeing how accidents happen in real time on dash cams, and gives information and lectures about injury prevention and how best practices on using a dash cam and the importance of using that. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
To the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice being here. We're recording right now. This is Super Bowl weekend. It is freezing cold all over the country. It's been cold here too, but it's been interesting because Florida has been traditionally really warm, and this past week it was really cold. Get to turn the heat on and so forth. So, how's your week been going?
Cold.
No one north of Florida is going to feel sorry for us.
I know.
That's it really is cold.
It is. And right now it's probably about 62, 63 degrees. I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, screw you guys. It's so cold everywhere else out in the world. So introducing my first guest, who I mentioned before, Dr. Tyrance, Patrick Tyrance. He practices in Palm Beach County. He's an orthopedic surgeon, works a lot with athletes and people that have been injured, and was an athlete himself. Tell us a little bit about that, how your journey from being an athlete to being a physician.
So thank you for having me. I was a biology major in college and played football at the University of Nebraska under a great coach by the name of Tom Osborne.
Nice.
And I played in the old Big Eight to kind of give you myself. Oklahoma were big rivals. And, I played my last college football game in Orlando, and we lost to Georgia Tech. They split the national championship with Colorado, whom we had lost to 3 weeks before that. So we were very generous in giving out national championships my senior year. And when we lost that game, instead of going back to the hotel, I flew to Cleveland and started my medical school interviews the very next day. Mm-hmm. So while I was training for medical school, I was interviewing for medical school. I was training for the NFL Combine and ended up getting accepted to medical school. And 3 weeks after that, drafted to play in the NFL. So wow. I was juggling a few things. And,
so NFL and medical school. Wow.
And where I ended up going to Harvard for medical school, and they deferred admission and was in the league for a short period of time. And after that year, I went ahead and matriculated to Harvard. So being an athlete and being intimately interested in the life of an athlete and the health span of an athlete has always been a part of my experience.
Wow. What do you think was harder, getting into Harvard Medical School or getting into the NFL?
well, the thing that I realized in the NFL, I was drafted kind of a mid-round, mid to late round draft pick, and there was very little difference between the free agent and those guys drafted, third round and afterwards. I mean, they were professionals and competing at that level for a reason. And the players that you hear about and those personalities, those are the elite of the elite. The Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings and et cetera. So, but everyone else, you would not notice a difference. I think for medical school, everyone has had this. Both entities, everyone had a deep respect for each other, and to some degree, most had a little bit of an imposter syndrome mentality, like, do I really belong here? And
In medical school.
and
And in the NFL too.
a bit. You kind of, I didn't ask for the autograph of some of my favorite players that I had seen the year before, and you're in the league with them. So there's a little bit of that, but I think certainly for medical school there's a little bit of a imposter syndrome. But at the end of the day, you're there, you've earned it, you compete, and it definitely gets the most out of you.
Awesome. Very cool. So, and did you have a specific injury that made you think about going to school to be a doctor?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I tell the story because I get asked that question a lot, and I say, if you're serving up Gatorade, then it's hard to get injured. You got to be on the field playing. But I was fortunate enough not to sustain a major injury, but my roommates in college, and I can name dozens of players that I played with that sustained major injuries, from ACLs and a lot of shoulder dislocations, slap tears rather. And so that, more than anything, kind of gained my attention and prompted me to focus on orthopedics. So I love getting people back to health and moving and the variety, and so that was a big piece.
That's awesome. That's great. And we have also Shannon Sagan, the dash cam lawyer. And I like your YouTube channel, but it's scary, because I see all these accidents, crashes, and
People like watching violent stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Crashes.
It's something that I guess when we're drawn to the car chases or these kind of crashes, and you've seen hundreds or maybe thousands, I don't know, of crashes on dash cams, and you have videos on your YouTube channel that I've seen, and also you do a podcast yourself. What in terms of that? What if some of the things? What got you into doing that? Being the dash cam lawyer, sorry, and then also what have you learned from this?
Got into it because I was noticing a pattern 7-8 years ago of people on the other side of my clients' cases lying about how the accident happened. I had dash cams in all of my cars when they were just coming out, just to protect myself because of what I was seeing. And it started becoming very prevalent, like I said, in less than 6 years ago. The insurance companies starting to either deny claims or trying to blame my clients for at least partially being at fault. That way they don't have to pay certain things. And so what happens is the clients want you to pull off a miracle. Well, they're saying I had the green light, and the other person's saying I didn't. So it's he said, she said. How do you prove it without cameras, without witnesses? And it's a kind of a common sense thing. So I eventually started giving out dash cams as like contests and stuff occasionally. And then one day just driving down I-95, and I'm looking at my dash cam and I'm like, that's it. What lawyers are talking about this stuff? Because it's prevalent, it's happening, and it's getting worse and worse in the legal community. I looked up other lawyers online. No one's really talking about dash cams and the importance of them. You'll have a lawyer who's occasionally talking about how to install one or whatever, but no one really took it serious. So I called up my trademark lawyer from law school, and I said, can I get the name the dash cam lawyer trademarked? And she said, yeah, but the second we hang up, you've got to start marketing yourself as the dash cam lawyer. And so I just started banging out videos, social media, started buying all kinds of dash cams, and eventually where we're at now is I've given away for free over 1,000 dash cams to mostly Palm Beach County residents. Sometimes if I'm in Ubers, like if I go to Atlanta a lot and the Uber drivers don't have one, I just, as I'm walking away, just give them a dash cam when they don't have it because they really need it. And then recently I just started selling my own branded higher end dash cam. So that's a whole
Great.
different business as well. But basically got into it because the insurance companies are brutal with how accidents happen. And this just makes things so much easier. The dash cam cases that I get, we're settling them quicker. The liability, if there's a liability issue, that gets shut down because it shows our client didn't do anything, and vice versa. If you have one and you're at fault, well, there you go. And I see that it sometimes makes the cases stronger and settle for higher.
Okay. In looking at all of the footage from these videos, are there patterns that keep showing up, things you see over more frequently than other type of accidents? More common, I guess.
I mean, when you watch a dash cam video, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty aggressive and can be violent. But even with the lower impact ones, if you've got a good dash cam video of even a low impact injury, you can still see how you're not necessarily going to see the person's body because most people don't have the in-cabin dash cam pointing at them. That's usually Uber drivers. But you can still get an idea of how hard a car was hit, even with a fender bender type accident. And that's also where the dash cams can become very powerful to show a jury or an insurance company that this isn't just some tiny low property fender bender.
Right, because I guess without the dash cam footage, somebody can have a big impact, and depending the kind of car it is, they might not have a lot of property damage, but the impact of the jolt itself could have been significant, and the person could have had more of an injury. So it's good to have the camera because you could see the different nuances about the impact, especially if you have a rear and front as well, which a lot of cameras do. So, well, great. Thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate you coming. And so I wanted to ask Dr. Tyrance, what type of injuries do you mostly treat? What are some of the common injuries of patients that you're seeing? Because I mean, there's so many different types of injuries, but there's probably like a few common ones in the shoulder or the knee that you're seeing over and over again.
So most of the injuries that I treat are extremity related. Shoulders, elbow, hip, knee, foot and ankle. I do see and evaluate and treat to a limited degree spine injuries. And it may be things sports related, weekend warriors, overuse injuries, those that are athletically minded. Most of the procedures that I perform are arthroscopy, and so I've been practicing orthopedics over 20 years, and I've slowly narrowed my focus. I no longer do joint replacements. I don't do any procedures that are hospital-based. Everything is outpatient, which facilitates, in my mind, it lowers some of the risk as far as infection and generally a little bit healthier patient. And so with respect to the shoulder, oftentimes a labrum injury. Sometimes patients may hear, or individuals may hear, a slap tear, which is an acronym for superior labrum, front to back, anterior to posterior.
Right. And what that's a structure inside the shoulder?
A structure inside the shoulder, the large shoulder joint, ball and socket joint, is the most commonly dislocated joint. So the ball is much larger than the socket, similar to a golf ball sitting on a tee.
Is there a common way, something common that causes people to have that?
The oftentimes it is injury or energy from posterior to anterior, from being hit either from behind, for respect to a motor vehicle accident. An individual, maybe they can see an accident happening in their rearview mirror, and they put their hands on the steering wheel to brace themselves, and they're rear-ended. So all that energy is transferred from the rear, from the back forward, causing the ball to sublux, to partially dislocate forward. You can see it in sports like wrestling, where the arm is, we call it, externally rotated. The hand is away from the body, externally rotated. You may see it in football, arm tackling, which is not recommended, but you have your arm extended away from the body, and the arm is externally rotated.
Okay.
You're bench pressing, and your spotter's not paying attention. He's looking at distracted.
Something else in the gym. I wonder what that could be.
You never know. It's everywhere. You never know. And so the labrum is soft tissue around that socket, the glenoid. It helps to keep the ball centered in the socket. So that's common. AC joint, acromioclavicular joint separation. You fall on the shoulder.
Arm out.
Correct.
Things like that. And then rotator cuff tears. I'm sure you see that a lot.
And you tend to see rotator cuff tears in an older population. It's very rare to have those injuries occur together. The labrum tear tends to occur in a much younger population. Older population, you tend to find the rotator cuff tears. And then ACLs, anterior cruciate ligament tears, sports where you're doing a lot of change of direction, football, soccer. You don't see it in cyclists, or sprinters. So, and then fractures.
Right. Okay. So there's a variety of different type of injuries you could have in your shoulder or the knee or a lot of other joints in the body, the hip. You mentioned something a few seconds ago about you do arthroscopic surgery, and you do surgeries. It seemed like to me to be more minimally invasive surgery, which is, I think, good because from what I heard, sometimes surgeries that have bigger incisions and the surgeon does more stuff inside the joint can actually be longer recovery and maybe not as good outcome.
Right.
So you shed some light on that?
Right. Arthroscopy is a term that means to look inside the joint. Joint is ARTHR. Arthroscope is to take a look. Say, let's go scope something out. Let's go take a look. So arthroscopy is just looking inside any joint. A labrum repair or a rotator cuff tear, we used to do those open when I first was a medical student and an early residency. Arthroscopy, that technology was in its infancy. And so to repair a rotator cuff or labrum, you actually have to cut through normal tissue. And so there's the rotator cuff is a group of 4 tendons that helps to stabilize the shoulder joint. And you would go through the front. Oftentimes that subscapularis tendon is normal, so you have to cut that to get to the injured tendon. So all that larger incision, more tissue to heal, takes longer to recover. Arthroscopy, smaller incision, and you spare the normal tissue, and you're able to be a lot more precise and direct, and able to visualize the injured or diseased tissue, repair it without causing injury to uninvolved tissue.
Okay. I ask this a lot of surgeons because there's a lot of people listening out there and watching, and they might have had an accident or injury and they're afraid of surgery. When do you think, in your opinion, you tell your patients, okay, we need to do surgery versus more PT versus let's wait? How do you educate patients and actually get them to be behind the decision and be part of it. So they feel comfortable. Everybody is on the same page.
Sure. I mentioned earlier, I don't do any procedures in the hospital. So if I'm on call for the hospital and there's an emergent case or urgent case, there's, you talk to the patient, family member, this has to be addressed sooner rather than later. And so oftentimes there's less conversation. So with me doing elective cases and having probably done over 4,000 or 5,000 surgeries, I know that with every procedure, the outcome is not always optimal. And it's not my role to sell a procedure to the patient. So I'm grateful and thankful that I have a broader perspective. So surgeons feel like the only time they're bringing value to the patient is when that patient is anesthetized, asleep, they're placing scalpel to skin, and the patient's on the table. So I am a source of information for the patient, and patients are very, very informed, between AI and Google. And so they come with a lot of information.
And Dr. ChatGPT?
Exactly, all of that. So you're not short on information. The information tells a patient what something is. So rarely do patients not know. But the mistake is when they are informed and they will mistake that for knowledge. And what knowledge is being able to adequately apply that information and knowing how to do something. So just because I read about swimming, I'm informing myself doesn't mean I know how to swim.
Right, okay.
And then wisdom comes in when to do something. Okay, I know how to swim, but I'm not going to do it in hurricane-like conditions. So my role is to take that information that oftentimes the patient will come with and place it in a proper context. And so I don't say, well, surgery's bad, don't have surgery. No, I'm fortunate enough to have very good outcomes, but I can speak from someone who has performed surgery. But if patients ask me, if this were you, doc, what would you do? And I have two different answers. I say, my personal philosophy is surgery's for doing, not for having. I can do surgery all day, but I'm like the next person and want to think twice about having surgery. So I put it in the proper context. I give them the information, additional information, provide the context, and give them knowledge and have them understand that, okay, you have to be involved. You're an active participant in the outcome. And there's things that you should do and need to do, and get your mindset wrapped around the idea of, number one, I try to understand what is their lifestyle, what are their expectations, how does their injury affect their lifestyle, what is it that you cannot do or do differently because of your injury, what is it that you hope to do and hope to accomplish. And they say, oh, I want to be able to run around with the grandkids, I'm getting married, and I want to be able to travel, whatever it is, and say, okay,
I got to get ready for my honeymoon.
Exactly. I can help with that. I can help with that. And if I can't, I let them know. But the patient that is relatively sedentary, they don't have a goal, and they're very very passive. I'm not, I can't help them so much with that because we're not in alignment, and we don't know when they have that success. I have patients that, I'll repair their ACL, and it's like, the ACL is great. Now you have to do the physical therapy. I was there for an hour and a half, but you have to do the work, and it has to be worth your effort and your time. So.
Okay. So a question for you. Let's say that Shannon comes to you as a patient. He does Muay Thai kickboxing, which he used to do, right?
Yes.
And he has a shoulder injury, and he doesn't want to get surgery. What other options do you provide to patients that are newer that you feel patients are getting good outcomes from? And that's one of the reasons why I'm having you on the show, is because you do some other things besides just arthroscopic surgery and surgery. So what are some of those things, options that somebody that has maybe a injury from doing a contact sport or not, but shoulder injury, knee injury, hip injury, what are some of the other options?
I mean, nutrition is important. We actually have a supplement line that I've branded, so nutrition is important. You know, I tell patients sometimes, you know, I can't make chicken salad out of poop, so you got to help me. So, and there's some nutritional deficiencies that can easily be addressed. So between supplement line, I'm a big fan of Platelet-Rich Plasma, PRP, a regenerative type therapy that I've been using for over a decade, well over a decade, probably 15 years. And patients will say, "Oh, well, my neighbor had PRP and it didn't work." And I'm very clear on not all PRP is the same. It really depends on how much blood is drawn, how it's processed, whether or not you're taking anti-inflammatories in and around the time of the procedure. I use technology called exosomes, which is a type of regenerative therapy. It's actually the series of proteins that actually that stimulate the cells to regenerate and injure
Wow.
tissue. So between PRP, exosomes, other non-surgical technologies, shockwave, fat-derived stem cells, if you will. So
Okay.
I've had good success with that.
Okay. So with PRP, could you just explain a little bit? That's the person's own blood, right, that you use. And what do you draw the blood, and explain a little bit about how you would do this if somebody came in and they were going to get PRP injections.
PRP is an acronym for platelet-rich plasma. And so what we're really doing is injecting a number of proteins that have the ability to stimulate the surrounding tissue. And so how many proteins and growth factors we inject really depends upon how many platelets we inject. The platelets are the carriers of this. How many platelets we inject really depends on how much blood we draw. So depending upon the joint, shoulder, non-weight-bearing joint, knee joint, weight-bearing joint, determines how much PRP I'll inject. So for example, a knee, I draw 60 mLs of blood. We spin it, place in a centrifuge. The red blood cells, after the first spin, are heavier. We discard those. There's the plasma and platelets left in the tube. And so then we do a second spin, and those platelets fall to the bottom of the tube. And depending upon, we'll discard some of the plasma. What we really are wanting are those platelets. And again, they have a number of growth factors: platelet-derived growth factor, transforming growth factor beta. I won't bore you with all the names of all of them. And how much plasma I inject depends on the joint. I mentioned, in South Florida, maybe other places as well, people are very familiar with PRP for cosmetic. I don't know the term, but it used to be called vampire facial. And basically you abrade or the overlying epidermis, and you can apply the plasma, which has the growth factors, to that denuded area of the face. And so that same technology, but you don't necessarily draw as much blood. You can probably get by with 15 mLs of blood or 30 mLs of blood. You don't need as much for a joint. So it works well. We add peptides to that protocol, shockwave, to the protocol, which is a similar technology to lithotripsy. And that can be used sometimes alone or in conjunction with surgery. And as an example, we found that partial thickness rotator cuff tears. Patient doesn't want surgery. Shannon comes in and he's torn, he has a partial thickness rotator cuff tear. It's affecting his ability to
Drive and
chop people across the neck. Muay Thai. I don't know. Do you use your hands like that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't chop though.
You punch. You punch. Okay. Okay. So
Same thing now.
and you took those elbows.
Yeah, elbows. There
Okay.
you go.
He wants to punch people in the Adam's apple with a little. So we know that the partial thickness rotator cuff tear, I'm able to use PRP and actually get very good healing of the tissue. Follow up with the MRI maybe 6 months later. Tennis elbow, lateral epicondylitis. It does work.
That's great.
Very well.
That's great. What about stem cell? How is that different?
Yeah, and I hesitate to use it. I mentioned it earlier, but I hesitate to use the term stem cells. And so there's many different sources. Bone marrow is a very good source. We know that the number of regenerative cells, stem cells, if you will, in bone marrow decrease with age, and those cells that are present have less activity. So someone that's in their 60s, 70s, the activity of those stem cells are less. So we also know that fat-derived stem cells or fat-derived regenerative cells, mesenchymal cells, they don't decrease as one ages, and the activity of those cells don't decrease. And in the U.S., I mean, fat is abundant, and so
No,
So we're a fat country.
how dare you say that?
yeah, I got my girdle. Black. Makes me look smaller.
I got my Spanx on.
Yeah. So that is a great source of stem cells, and you can, depend upon the provider, sometimes you can mix and match, and you get a different number of growth factors as well. But it's important to understand that these technologies should not. I'm of the strong opinion that they should not be used in isolation. And so they're part of a larger protocol. You can't go through something like that and then just hang out on the couch. That's why it's important for me to understand, I mean, what motivates you in life? What is it that you love to do? Is it family, recreational activities, I mean, whatever it is. And those are the things that, and these technologies aren't cheap either. So, I want to be able to address their needs and have a good outcome and feel good about what it is that I've done, and I want them to feel good about their spend and feel like that they got more than their money's worth versus after the fact. And it's like, well, it didn't work, doc.
Right. Right.
Like, well, did you work?
Yeah, exactly. You had to do your part.
Correct.
Right. So, Shannon, you are a personal injury attorney, and you've had clients, I'm sure, that have been injured, and they have gone to orthopedists. Have any of your clients used PRP injections or any of these other alternative type of therapies and treatments? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to get surgery, and they really want to try these other modalities. Have you come across that?
Typically, a lot of my clients with mainly spinal injuries, they're going to start with conservative therapy, whether it's chiropractic or physical therapy and all the modalities that offers. And it kind of gets ramped up depending on how intense the pain is, how long it lasts. Next step usually would be, if the therapy is not helping or it's temporary, would be injections, different types of injections. PRP in my industry is not as common, just because the car insurance doesn't pay for that, and sometimes it can be a little bit expensive, and clients don't want to take that risk. Um, but the other types of injections, the PIP coverage will handle it. But mainly therapy. We try to do a lot of therapy with them to see if they can get better first. Scans, X-rays, MRIs, of course. And then sometimes you'll have some very holistic clients that will do their own yoga and light working out and whatnot. Um, Sometimes it works, but typically when we've got these car accident cases, especially with the big impact ones, the therapy buys them some time, which is important to them. But they've got to go to like Doc Tyrance and get things fixed.
Right, right. And I spoke about this before with you. We've actually done a show one time before. You have an interesting story of what led you to become a personal injury attorney, kind of like your story of why you became an attorney and what you like.
Yeah, see this finger? That's I tell people I'm one of the only attorneys that's actually been in my client's shoes. So I was in a nasty rollover car accident. I don't remember what happened. I ended up in intensive care unit. Did not remember anyone or anything until about 24 hours later. This is my pinky finger, and I've learned, he could probably attest, that the best finger that you're going to permanently mess up would be the pinky finger, so I'm happy there. But at the time, the doctor wanted to cut it off at Wellington. I think he's still practicing too.
Hey.
This guy's old. And I'm not putting names, no. But anyway, he wanted to cut it off. That freaked my parents out. We go down to Jackson Memorial, and for 9-10 days, I'm on the hand unit. So we're all walking around with messed up hands. One dude had been bit by a human, which is
Oh my
bad,
gosh.
and he was in there for 19 days. So this lady, big lady, she'd come in twice a day and just scrub it. And I had stuff hanging out. I mean, it was hanging. And they just scrub it every single day. But anyway, I did lots of therapy and whatnot. And so after that, I ended up with over 6 figures in medical bills. There was an issue of who was at fault. My buddy was driving, and there was another girl that was driving. And so I had to sit down at the table, same kind of table that my clients do, and hire an attorney and actually go through the entire process. So I know the stress of it. I know the anxiety. I know the pain physically from having to see doctors and trying to figure out how to pay your bills. You got people fighting. I had nothing to do with it as a passenger, but you got 2 insurance companies blaming each other and putting me in the middle of it. So I have that perspective. It's a little bit different than other lawyers, that I actually had to hire a lawyer and go through this whole lawsuit type stuff to get what I deserved when I did really nothing wrong.
Right. So your journey through that injury and how frustrating it was for you, you wanted to be the person that can help other people get justice through that and be able to maybe not put them back together like Dr. Tyrance, but be able to help put them back together in another way. Help them get their life financially.
These things can wipe people out financially, so you try to help put them back together with getting them some money to get them future medical care. Some people with the major surgeries, they're out for weeks, if not months, and they can't work. So financially is a big deal. And then, the longer you're in this industry, then you get to know really good doctors, and you get to provide them and suggest good doctors where they really wouldn't know where to go other than their primary. And no disrespect to primaries, but they don't know anything about this stuff, and they don't like dealing with car accidents. And they're just going to send you to maybe some random person. So being in this industry, I got to know and meet the good and sometimes not so good doctors.
Right. Great. Well, thanks for sharing that story with us. The thing that's unique about Dr. Tyrance is one, and both of our guests, they've been on both sides of this. They've been the person injured, and then they've been the person that's helping them. So they have empathy. And Dr. Tyrance, you not only perform surgery, because I've met a lot of orthopedists that they don't do they don't do PRP, they don't do any other type of injections like that. If sometimes they even poo-poo them, they say, oh, they don't work at all. And I would imagine that they do. It's probably the candidate, having the right candidate, having the right joint that it's gonna work with, and the right diagnosis, the right type of injury. So all those things. So that's why it's important to go to an orthopedic surgeon like yourself rather than somebody that you see in a Facebook ad that's doesn't have the training. Maybe he's a primary care doctor that took a couple of seminars and they don't have the orthopedic experience nowhere near like an orthopedic surgeon. So I think it's quite refreshing that you do both. You're doing the surgery, you're doing the other type of therapies, and you mentioned about nutrition, which I think is great. What type of nutrition that if somebody came in with an injury, a joint injury, what are some of the things you say, hey, you want to eat this, you want to stay away from this? What are some common things that you recommend, Doc?
Yeah, I think that, in general, there's things that we can do to lifestyle changes to affect our health. So patients will present to me for joint pain or decrease in their activity for whatever reason. And I'll say, I'm a big proponent of vitamin D as an example. And I have comments around D3 with K2 and oftentimes will educate a patient around perceived or their misunderstanding around vitamin K and its effect on blood. Although in South Florida, most individuals are vitamin D deficient. And I'll let them know or inform them optimizing your vitamin D, not just normalizing it. 30 to 100 is considered normal. You want your levels around 70, 80, 90. Even, I keep mine around 150, but don't follow my lead. And patients will come in and they'll say, well, what about vitamin D toxicity? Or I was on vitamin D and have to worry about toxic dose. So the idea of vitamin D toxicity is related to calcium. So if you're taking high dose vitamin D, your body is going to absorb all the calcium that you take in your vegetables. You don't have to supplement calcium. Without K2, that additional calcium is going to circulate within your bloodstream. That's not where you want it. So if you have a high fat diet, high level of triglycerides, a pro-inflammatory diet, fried foods, a lot of sugars, then you're going to get plaques created in your peripheral vasculature. So with K2, that drives the extra calcium from the bloodstream into the bone. And you can take really high doses of vitamin D3 with K2 and say, well, who cares? Why is that important? So high levels of vitamin D help with REM sleep, deep restorative sleep.
Nice.
And patients will say, well, and I hear it often, my pain is worse at night. And why is that? So cortisol, the stress hormone, is also a great pain reliever. So your cortisol drops, associated with circadian rhythm, sunlight, cortisol levels drop and your pain increases, and your cortisol level drops in the evening because you're getting ready to settle down and go to bed. Vitamin D helps with deep restorative sleep. So, and
Don't you think sleep is underrated? I think it's starting to now get not popular, but people are really starting to take it serious.
absolutely.
Steady sleep, steady pattern, because I'm doing that now, taking it serious. And I feel, I'm so tired all the time from getting old, but I feel so much better when I'm
Absolutely.
getting
To your point,
straight up good, deep sleep.
that is the easiest restorative lifestyle change, and patients will come in and what about growth hormone? Should I take growth hormone? And I prescribe some hormone replacement therapy. And I say, well, the best way to elevate your growth hormone is to get a good night's rest.
Right.
So if you have a tough workout during the day or whenever you do that, preferably in the morning, get a good night's rest. Your cortisol levels go down. That stress response goes down. Your growth hormone goes up, and it helps to regenerate the tissue injury and decrease that stress response. So Shannon, to your point, you're absolutely right. We have this idea of go, 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 and push harder and biohacking, which I mean, words matter as well. Getting a little bit off of an aside, but as a surgeon, if I were called a hack, that would not be a compliment. If your computer gets hacked, it causes a problem.
True.
Right.
It disrupts security. You have the IT person come in. So why do I want someone hacking my biology? Why would I go around and championing myself as a professional biohacker? So people, language and words matter.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I like the idea of biomastery. So understanding biology, understanding the laws of biology, changing, making lifestyle decisions that are in line with the laws of biology to optimize and extend your health span. So biohacking is marketing, and it's a way of getting individuals to spend money, and the same go, go, go mentality can be very toxic in a longevity or environment. So I love vitamin D3 with K2. Getting a good night's rest is key. Probiotic is important. Omegas, DHA, EPA, those are essential. So, I mean, those are some simple nutritional things.
We could probably do a whole show on nutrition and orthopedics because there's just so much stuff.
I studied health and nutrition, and one of the reasons why I've taken this route. I mean, I was doing 18 to 25 surgeries a week at
Wow.
one point, and had 2 nurses, PA, and working for a hospital, and realized that number one, it wasn't sustainable. My father passed away when I was on call, and then 8 hours after he passed, I'm in the OR operating and doing 3 or 4 surgeries that day. So took some time off and left medicine for a year. Went to not law school, got my MBA business school, and studied nutrition as well, and said if I went back into practicing surgery, I would bring these other experiences for the better,
Right.
In a broader perspective, to my patients.
Right.
So I think it's absolutely improved my outcomes, and the patients appreciate a surgeon not necessarily advocating surgery all the
Right.
time.
So, wow, we've discussed so many things today. If somebody wants to get a hold of you and seek you out to be a patient, how do they reach you? What's the best way to reach you, contact you?
Best way is to contact the office. Our website is Tyrance, TYRANCE, ortho, ORTHO.com, tyranceortho.com. Our office number is 561-898-0303.
Great. And I love your approach, multifaceted approach. You have a lot of tools in the tool belt to be able to help a patient orthopedically, and a broader sense, holistic sense as well, with nutrition and some other different type of modalities. And Shannon, if somebody wants to reach out to you and learn more about either Dashcam, or they want to seek you out and hire you as an attorney, what would be the best way to reach you?
Pretty easy. Look up anything that says the Dashcam lawyer. You'll find me everywhere. And phone number is 561-561-DASH.
Okay. And we're going to have, folks, in the show notes, we're going to have their contact information as well. We are going to be finishing up here in a second, but I wanted to do something. At the end of our show, we have a ritual where we give away a symbol, a comeback symbol, which is what we have is a superhero tumbler. And to us, each superhero has a different strength, different power. And the guests that come on our show help provide information to our listeners, helping them understand different different facets of being injured, recovery, making a comeback, mindset, all these different aspects. So with that, Dr. Tyrance, which one of our tumblers? We have Thor, Superman, Batman, Deadpool, Hulk. We have Captain America. Which one resonates most with you?
I like Thor.
Okay.
The big hammer. So we actually use a mallet in orthopedic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As well. But Thor, in my mind, represents growth.
Okay.
Strength and the ability. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, so to speak. So I'm always trying to grow, being mentally tough. And Shannon knows having your own business and can be challenging, and being responsible not only for myself but patients and my staff as well. So I would say Thor.
Okay, awesome. And Shannon, as a guest on the show, which superhero tumbler would you choose and resonates with you?
So I was reading all of the characteristics, and mine was Thor too. I was hoping you wouldn't
know
say
what?
it.
You know what? I have another one back in the office, another Thor. We will get you a Thor tumbler as well. Folks, before we leave, and I want to let you know, this show is for educational purposes only. This does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship. This is for educational purposes to shed light about injury and different aspects of comeback. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll be back. And like I say all the time, like, follow, subscribe. See you on the other side.